The primary sector. The primary sector is all the economic activities related to obtain source from nature and there are 4 types. The first one is the agriculture. The second one is the livestock farming. The third one is the forestry. And the fourth one is the fishing. The agriculture. The agriculture refers to the cultivation of lands in order to obtain different crops and also raw materials for industry. The livestock farming. The livestock farming is the raising of animals for products of human use as food or raw materials as wood, etc. Forestry. The forestry is the managing of forest in order to obtain raw material as wood. And the fishing is to obtain raw materials from sea.
Two, natural factors. Agriculture is influenced by natural factors. Climate, decisive for choosing the type of crops. Climate tells us the humidity and temperature. Relief, it's mountainous areas. It's harder to cultivate in land. Soil and vegetation. Soil produced by decomposition of vegetables and animal matter.
The human factors. The human being obviously causes impacts on landscapes. Population and technology and society has influenced a lot on the population due to the explosion of agricultural products. The most obvious places on that has increased so much is on the natural landscapes, and environmental problems has caused like the deforestation, the overexploitation of the land, the danger of extinctions for some species, the decrease of genetic diversity, the excessive of use of pesticides, and the abuse of fertilizers. Also, the technology has a very high influence here. It helps to evolve. In the traditional societies, the tools that are used are very simple, like the digging stick, the plow, the commas, the well, etc. In developed societies and the developed landscapes, we can find modern agriculture tools like the tractors, the harvesters, the chemical pesticides, the chemical fertilizers, and so on. On the society has a specific crops or foods that are realized to a specific society. There are 2 types. The subsistence economy, that is the food that people from farming livestock get for meat, for feed themselves. And the market economy is the part of the land of the crops that are cultivated that goes for some markets or supermarkets like Mercadona, Carrefour, etc.
4. Agricultural landscapes. Fields or plots of lands. They can be regular or irregular, small or medium-sized or large. Other features, variety of crops or irrigation system. 5. Traditional agricultural landscape. It's characterized by other primitive technology such as polyculture, low production, or high labor. Slash and burn, that at the location of crops, first they have to clear the forest, cut the trees, later the trees is burned, and ashes fertilize the soil. Another part is monsoon irrigation agriculture. Location of crops. Each traditional landscape have a high production. First they plant rice, plants are transported and prepared for consumption. Five. Traditional agricultural landscape. It's characterized by other primitive technology such as polyculture, low production, or high labor. There are three parts such as slash and burn, that at the location of crops, first they have to clear the forest, cut the trees, later the trees is burned, and ashes fertilize the soil. Dry sedentary agriculture. There is also location of crops. Most important in this system is sedentary. They use natural matter. They don't use chemical fertilizers. Another part is monsoon irrigation agriculture. Location of crops. Each traditional landscape have a high production. First they plant rice, plants are transported and prepared for consumption.
Six. Develop agricultural landscapes. In this type of landscape, the farmers use advanced technology and the production of the market. The production is very high, but the labor is very low thanks to the use of machinery. The farmers specialize in one or two crops, called monoculture. The agriculture of New World countries. This type of landscape is characterized by regular fields, use more of advanced technology. Thanks to that, the production is very high and the need of labor is very low. It's a market economy, as they produce for the market and try to obtain the maximum benefit. It is also monoculture, and depending on the type of crop, process and production, it can be intensive or extensive.
The livestock farming. There are two types, the traditional and the market. The traditional is the subsistence economy that produce their own needs. Inside the traditional economy and the traditional livestock farming, there are two types. The nomadic, that they move near deserts and they are forced to move constantly for looking for pasture. And then the typical animals that are on these are the camel, the goats, and the sheep. And then the other type of traditional livestock farming is the transhumant, that moves seasonally. On summer they go to the mountains and on winter to the valleys. It was created on 1273 in Spain, and the typical animals are sheep, goats, horses, and etc. And the other type of livestock farming is the market. Are the most common type of livestock farming that are undeveloped areas. There are two types: the extensive, that are on open air, and they are typically from North America, Australia, etc., and the intensive, that are on closest place with animal feeds.
Ten. Environmental problems and possible solutions. One problem is agriculture and livestock farming versus organic farming. Some environmental problems in agriculture are such as deforestation or overexploitation. Another problem is forestry versus silviculture, that is, exploitation of forest is a very serious environmental problem. A solution to this is silviculture, that controls the exploitation. Another problem is fishing versus aquaculture. Aquaculture is the cultivation of aquatic animals and plants in the artificial and controlled environment.
Production in Europe. The European Union occupies the third position in the world agricultural production. In 2015, it produced $333 billion. The production of agricultural products related with GDP is 1.6%. 5% of labor force works in agriculture. Spain occupies the 18th position in the world agricultural production, producing in 2015 the amount of $39 billion. Spain occupies the third position in the European agricultural production, after France and Italy. 12.5% of the European agricultural products come from Spain. The production of agricultural products related with GDP is 2.5%. Agricultural landscapes. There are 5 types. 1. Oceanic agricultural landscape. It corresponds to areas with oceanic climate. It is specialized in intensive livestock farming for dairy products and meat. It also produces cereals and fodder. Continental agricultural landscapes. In the continuous forest, the main production is timber. In the central plains, the main production is cereals, fodder, and livestock farming. In irrigated areas, industrial crops may be planted. 3. Mediterranean irrigation agriculture landscape. It consists of intense irrigation and culture, fruits, vegetables, and industrial crops, and greenhouse cultivation, strawberries, tomatoes. 4. Mediterranean dry agriculture landscape. It is based on the Mediterranean trilogy, cereals, vineyards, and olives. Livestock farming is also practiced. We can find extensive livestock farming, sheep, pigs, and cows, and intensive livestock farming near the cities, pigs and cows. 5. The peculiarity of the Canary Islands. We can find very developed cultivations with modern advanced techniques with products aimed for exportation. Bananas, tomatoes, new potatoes, cucumber, flowers, etc. In livestock farming, we can find intensive farms of pigs. The importance of the Common Agricultural Policy (CAP). Its main policies are to limit surplus production using for that production quotas, to establish compensatory payments for European farmers, to establish fair prices for farmers and consumers, to protect rural areas and support rural development, to promote an environmental agriculture through legislation and economic aids. The Common Fisheries Policy, to guarantee a supply of a safe, varied, and healthy fish supply, to avoid surplus using for that codes, to protect the marine resource through codes and legislation. The legislation includes the prohibition of certain fisheries nets and the protection of some species. Encouraging aquaculture thanks to economic aids. promoting development and diversification in fishing regions. Fishing in Spain. Fishing in Spain has always been a very important economic activity, although lately this importance has been reduced. There are some problems, such as overexploitation and exhaustion of some marine species, excessive size of the fleet in comparison to the limited and exhausted fishing grounds. The fishing industry. Fishing industry includes not only the fishing activity, but also the other important economic activities that create many jobs in fishing ports. These activities are canning, salting, freezing, the production of oils, research, etc. Fishing grounds and fishing regions. The fishing grounds where the Spanish fleet fish are in Spain, the EU and all around the world. For international fishing in the European Union signs agreements with different countries that allows Spain to fish in other countries and areas. The different fishing regions in Spain are Galicia, that is the most important fishing regions with products such as mollusks and crustaceans, followed by Cantabria, the Atlantic coast, the Canary Islands and the Mediterranean.